Hi children, welcome back to the online classes. So this is the second session of the lesson electricity, current and its effect. In the previous class we have seen and we have learnt about battery. So what is a battery? So in our daily life we will observe several electric appliances. We will observe the lights, fans, fridges, mixers, etc. What is the purpose of all these appliances? The main purpose of all these appliances is to do work. So when you are able to do work, when you are having some energy. So what is the main supply of energy? If you consider a torchlight, just consider a torchlight. So how the torchlight will lights up? How the light inside the torchlight will glows? What is the reason? Who are supplying this energy? This is the light energy that we are getting from the torchlight. We are getting light energy. How this light energy was obtained? What is the source of that energy? So what is the source of this energy in the case of torchlight? The source of energy is batteries. The source of energy is batteries. Because of the batteries, the bulb inside the torchlight will get energy and is converted into the light energy. So what is the purpose of the battery in the torchlight? Batteries act as a source of energy. Batteries is a source of energy. What is happening inside the battery? Battery consists of chemicals. We had already designed, we have already learned that how can we construct our own battery in the previous class. How we are constructing? We are constructing the batteries by using chemicals. So here inside the batteries acts as a source of energy, and batteries converting chemical energy. Batteries are converting chemical energy into electrical energy. Chemical energy is converting into electrical energy. So again that electrical energy is converted into light energy. So this is the energy conversion process. This is the energy conversion process. For example, if I was walking, what is the energy with me? I have some mechanical energy. I can do some mechanical work. I can lift this object. This is mechanics. This is mechanical energy. If I do like this, that mechanical energy is converted into heat. The hands will get some heat. Hands will get some temperature. So because mechanical energy is converted into heat energy. So similarly, energy will convert like that. So chemical energy is converted into electrical energy, and again electrical energy is converted into light energy. So energy conversion process will keeps on going in the universe. So what is the purpose of the battery? Batteries will act as a source of energy, and what was happening in the inside the battery? Chemical energy is converting into the electrical energy. So this is what we learned in the previous class. So now in today's class, let us learn about the term in the title, that is the first term. Let us learn about electricity. Let us learn about this term. What do you mean by electricity? What do you mean by electricity? So whenever if you rub a plastic object, so now I have a pen here. So if I rub this plastic object, and after rubbing this, keep this pen near to some pieces of paper. So near to some pieces of paper, I have kept this pen. After giving some, I have just rubbed this pen and kept this near the pieces of the paper. So then what happens? The pieces of papers will be attracted. Pieces of papers will attracted to this pen. So what is the reason behind this attraction? So whenever you will use your comb, after combing your hair, the comb will attract some pieces of paper. What is the reason behind that? How can we explain this phenomenon? So whenever if you are having some old TVs, old portable TVs, not LEDs or LCDs, so when you reach to the portable TVs, if you keep your hands near to that portable TV, so portable TV means it will have some larger in size. So nowadays these TVs are replaced with LEDs and LCDs. So I am speaking only about portable TVs. So if you keep your hand near to that screen of the TV, then your hair will be attracts to it. Hair will be attracts to the screen of this TV. So what is the reason? What is the reason? Or sometimes whenever you are wearing some silk clothes, that silk clothes may attract the hair of your body. So what is the reason behind this attraction? So these are the phenomena you are observing in the nature. These are the facts you are getting from the nature, and you have to explain these from the point of view of physics. So how can we explain this attractions? These are not the magnetic substance to attract, but why they are showing the property of attraction? How can you explain this? So this is explained by introducing a new concept of charge. This is explained by introducing a new concept of charge. The pen is attracting some pieces of paper because of the property called as charge. Your hair was attracted to the TV screen because of the property called as charge. They are having some special property, and the charges will not always undergo an attraction. Some charges may repel. So there you can observe the attraction and repulsion also. To explain that, charge is divided into charge are of two types. One is positive charges and another one is negative charges. So there are two types of charges. One is positive charges and another one is negative charges are there. So if both are positive charges, if like charges means same charges. So like charges will repel. Like charges will repel. So you already learnt about the magnets in the previous class, in the sixth class. So what happens there? Like poles will repel. North and north pole will repel. South and south pole will repel. Similarly, like charges will repel. That means positive will repel, or negative also will undergoes repulsion. Negative charges or positive charges will undergo repulsion. So similarly, unlike charges will attract. Unlike charges will attract. So to explain some phenomena in the nature, to explain this attraction phenomenon, a new concept was introduced, and we have named that property as charge. We have named that property as charge. And what do you mean by electricity? Electricity is the study of charge. Electricity is the study of charge. The study of charge is called as electricity. The study of charge is called as electricity. Every object will consist of charged particles. Every object consists of charged particles. Do you know that? So if I have a substance here, if I break this substance, I made this substance into very tiny particles. So I have obtained some tiny particles, and I again separated these tiny. I was dividing away again and again. I was making this object into very small particles. At last, you will get a very small particle. You are not able to divide it. You are not able to divide it. What we call this as atom. We will call this as atom. What do you mean by atom? It is an indivisible particle. We cannot divide it into further. We cannot divide it into further. So this is the particle which cannot be divided into further is called as atom. So you cannot call this as atom. Why? Because I can divide it. I can break it. So by making some tiny particles, you can obtain a very small particle. That particle is called as atom. What is meant by atom? It is a very small particle. You cannot divide it further. You cannot break into it further. You cannot make into some parts. So this is the final particle, atom. So this atom consists of positive charges, negative charges. So this atom consists of positive charge and negative charge. It consists of both positive and negative charges. What are negative charges inside the atom? Those we called as electrons. Those we call as electrons. What is meant by electrons? Electrons are the subatomic particles. Those are the particles present inside the atom. That's why we will call it as subatomic particles. That means these particles will consist inside the atom. These electrons will present inside the atom. And positive particles is also there. We will call it as protons. We will call it as protons. So remember that every atom, every material will consist of electrons, positive charges and negative charges. It consists of electrons and protons also. Every atom, every substance consists of negative charges, that is electrons and protons. Even the pen is having some electrons and protons. These are every particle, every substance is made up of atoms. Every substance is made up of atoms. So this particular substance consists of electrons and protons. So what do you mean by electricity? Electricity is the study of charge. How many different types of charges are there? There are two types of charges, positive charge and negative charge. So every particle, every substance consists of positive charges and negative charges. Every substance consists of positive charges and negative charges. So what do you mean by positive charges? Positive charges are nothing but protons, negative charges are nothing but electrons. So let us explain that. So whenever I was making some rubbing with this pen will lose some electrons. So this pen, what happens here? This pen is having lost some electrons. So it has lost some electrons and gets positive charges. If you place this near to the pieces of papers, so what happens? These positive charges will attract negatively charged pieces of papers. What is the charge of this papers? This papers is having, this pieces of papers is having negative charges. This pieces of paper is having negative charges, and these negative charges will attract to the positive charges. So how you are explain this phenomenon? Depending upon the charges. So the main theme is, what do you mean by electricity? The study of charge is called as electricity. So let us learn about another term, current. So I was considered a battery here. Let us consider a battery. So the battery which is having a bump at one of its end is positive charge and the plain side is negatively charged. I was connecting this battery to some wires, and let us connect this battery to some bulb. So I was connecting this battery to a bulb. So because of the source of energy of battery, the light will glows up. So what is the reason behind this light? So what was happening? Some current is flowing. So this particular wire, you are using some wire here. This wire consists of, every substance consists of electrons. So this wire also will consist of electrons. This wire also consists of electrons. So this wire consists of electrons. What will happen? So since this is a positive charge end, this battery is having positive end and negative end. So what is the charge of electrons? This wire consists of so much of electrons. This wire consists of electrons. That means negatively charged particles. This wire consists of negatively charged particles. So what will happen? This negative and negative will repel, and so electrons will move in this direction, and negative positive will attract. So in this way, negative and electrons negative charge will repel and move to this side. So in this way, what was happening here? The electrons was moving. In the wire. What do you mean by electrons? Electrons is nothing but charged particles. So what you have observed here, the electrons, the wire consists of electrons. The wire consists of electrons, and this negative charge will repel and makes the electrons to move. Positive charges will attract electrons. In this way, the electrons will move continuously like this. The electrons will move continuously. So, what you have observed here, the charged particles is moving. The charged particle is moving. So, current is nothing but flow of charges. Current is nothing but flow of charges. The current, the word current will represent the flow. Sometimes you can call as wind current. What do you mean by wind current? Wind is moving. Sometimes you can call it also water current. What is meant by water current? Water is flowing. The flowing water can also be called as water current. What do you mean by electric current? You can usually use this word current as water current. Sometimes you will use as, you can say that water current. What is meant by water current? Water current means water is flowing. Or wind current, air is moving. Wind current means, the word current means flow. The word current means flow. So here we can call exactly it as electric current. We can call it as electric current. So electric means charge. Electric means charge. Electric current means flow of charge. Electric current means flow of charge. Here what you have observed, when you are connecting the battery, the charges are flowing. When you are connecting the battery, the charges are flowing. So electric current is there. If you remove the battery, the electrons will be remains like that only. It doesn't move. The electrons inside the wire doesn't move. So when you connect the battery, the negative charge and positive charges of the battery will makes the electrons to move inside the wire. So this battery consists of negative charge and positive charge. So this negative and positive charges can cause the movement in the electrons. So in this way, the electrons, when you connect the battery, the electrons will move. So what was happening? Current is producing. Electric current is producing inside the circuit. So what is the meaning of electricity? It is the study of, electricity is the study of charges. Electricity is the study of charges. Electricity it is the study of charges is called as electricity. Study of charges is called as electricity. How many different types of charges are there? There are two types of charges, positive charges, negative charges. Every substance consists of charged particles. Even the human body is also made up of electrons charges. That means negative charges and positive charges. So every substance consists of charges. So what do you mean by current? So in this particular lesson, the current is nothing but flow of charges. Flow of charge is called as current. So especially in the wires, what do you mean by charge? In the wires, in the electric wires, electrons will flow. Electrons will move from one end of the battery to another end. So we can call it as, you can also define current as the flow of electrons is called as current. You can define like that also. Why? Because in the wires, electrons will move. In the wire, electrons will move. So let us see. So here again I have considered a battery here. So this battery consists of positive charge, negative charge. So battery has two ends. One end is positive, which is having some bump at that end, and another end is negative. So when you connect a bulb to the ends of this battery, so what will happen? So the wire consists of electrons. Every substance will consist of electrons, but you can use only copper wire. You can use only copper wire. Why can't you use a thread here? So every substance consists of electrons, sir. So thread is also having electrons. Yes, thread is also having some electrons. So then why can't we use thread in the place of the copper wire? So this is thread. Why can't we use the thread as a wire? So you are using only copper wire to connect, to make the bulb light up. So why you are using only copper wire? Why you are not using thread? This substance copper is also having electrons, it is having charged particles, and the thread is also having charged particles. So what is the difference is the electrons in the copper is able to move, it is not fixed to their positions. The electrons is freely moving, they are able to move freely, whereas the electrons present in the thread is rigidly fixed, it is not able to move. You cannot make these electrons to move. You cannot able to, these are rigidly fixed electrons, these are fixed electrons. Here electrons are not interested to change their positions, they are not interested to change their positions, they are not likes to move, they don't want to move in the thread. In the case of thread, the electrons in the thread doesn't want to move, they are rigidly fixed to the position, to its position, whereas in the copper wire the electrons will able to move, the electrons can freely move. So that's why we are using only copper substance as a wire. So even some substances like aluminum, silver, bronze, iron, so these are the metals which will allow the current, which can pass the current through it. So what we call this as conductors, which can allow the current to pass through it. So these substances is having electrons which can move freely. There are several materials: copper, aluminum, silver, bronze, iron. These are the metals. So in that metals, the electrons will able to move freely. So you can, if you connect the battery to these materials, the electrons will move freely. If you connect the battery to the thread, the electrons in the thread doesn't want to move, whereas the electrons in the copper or aluminum, in these metals, will able to move freely. So this is the reason why we are using only some materials to make some wires. So if you observe the wires near the electric pole, which material is used? Aluminum is using. The used material, the high tension wires, we will call it as high tension wires. Those are made up of aluminum. Why those are not are made up with threads? Why? Because the electrons in the thread doesn't want to change its positions. Electrons not interested to change its positions. Electrons are not interested to move. In the case of thread, even the wood also is not a conductor. It doesn't allow the current. Why? This is also consisting of electrons, whereas the electron doesn't want to move. The electron inside the wood doesn't want to move. It just sits in that positions only. It doesn't move. The electrons in some materials does not move. That's why we will only use some particular metals. We will call these as metals. So what is the difference between these two? Here the electrons will freely move from one place to another, but the electrons in the thread doesn't move. So depending on this, depending on the current, depending upon the current, you can classify the materials into two types. One is conductors, another one is insulators. Substances which allow the current are called as conductors. Substances which doesn't allow the current is called as insulators. So why insulators is not allowing current? Electrons will not move in insulators. In conductors, electrons will move freely. In conductors like copper, aluminum, silver, electrons can freely move from one place to another place. So if I had a silver bar here, so I have a rod made with silver. So if electron is at this end, I have found an electron at this end. If I connect a battery here, the electron will, if I connect a positive terminal of the battery here, the electron will attract to it. The electrons will move from this end to other end of the silver rod. Whereas if it is the wooden block, then electron not interested to move in this direction. It is rigidly fixed to this position. So that is the difference between the conductors and insulators. So what do you mean by electricity? Electricity is the study of charge. What is current? The flow of charges. Flow of charges is nothing but mainly electrons. Electrons flow is called as current. The flow of charges is called as current. So again let us learn a new term, let us learn a definition. I have considered a battery. It is having a positive terminal, a negative terminal, and I have connected a wire to the both terminals of the battery, and just connect this battery to some switch. I have connected this battery to a switch, and I connected a bulb in this path. So I have created a circuit like this. I have connected a battery, switch and a bulb. If you on the switch, the bulb will lights up. The bulb will lights up. So what we call it as, we call it as circuit. We will call it as circuit. What do you mean by circuit? If there is any breakages in the circuit, so we will call this as open circuit. Why? Because this is not closed. The circuit connection is not closed. So when we will call it as circuit. So what do you mean by electric circuit? We will call especially it as electric circuit. So what is the definition of electric circuit? Electric circuit is a closed path connecting the terminals of the battery. Here if you observe, I was connecting the negative terminal of the battery to the positive terminal of the battery. Just I was connecting negative terminal and positive terminal with some wires. I was connecting negative terminal of the battery and positive terminal of the battery with some wires, and I was using some electric components. I was using some electric components, that means which utilizes the electric energy. So here light will utilize electric energy, and what is the function of the switch? It will stop the electricity, or it will allow, it will stop or it will allow the electricity. So the switch, main function of the switch is on and off, right? Off means it will stop the electricity, on means it will allow the electricity. So we will call these as electric components. We will call this as electric components. So how can we define electric circuit? So electric circuit is a closed path, closed connection between the terminals of the battery through a electric components. So in this path we are connecting some electric components. We are connecting some electric components. So what is the definition? Electric circuit is a closed path of connection, between the terminals of the battery, So we are connecting the terminals of the battery. We are connecting terminals of the battery, negative terminal of the battery and positive terminal of the battery. The closed connection between the negative terminal and positive terminal through some electric components. In the path of negative and positive terminals, we are connecting some electric components. So electric circuit is the closed path of connection between the terminals of the battery through some electric components, So this is the definition of electric circuit. What do you mean by electric circuit? Electric circuit is a closed path between what? Between terminals, between positive terminal, negative terminal and positive terminal. So in that path some electric components are also connected. So the definition is electric circuit is a closed path between the terminals of the battery through some electric components. So with this the session was completed. In the next session we will see how can we connect number of batteries, how can we connect multiple batteries, in how many ways we can connect. So here I was using only single battery. If you want to use two batteries, how many types of connections you can made with that? So let us see about that in the next session. Thank you.